Man, all right. It is good to be here on a Monday night. It's your boy EB, and this is 520 and 520 IXC. Indie Christian culture. That's what it's about here, folks. My guy Frenchie Riff, man, he was caught up in traffic, but he just hit me up, said he was pulling into the crib. He's gonna be loading up and joining us here momentarily, man. So we're gonna be here, and I'm excited to jump on here tonight and be able to have some conversation, talk about some stuff that's happening in the world. I thought I'd go ahead and get the show rolling, though, while Frenchie gets loaded up, and talk about a few things with you. So one of those being, and I'm going to share my screen here so you can check this out, man. Make sure if you are not subscribed to our Substack, please go and subscribe to the Substack for us. It is 520co.substack.com, or you can simply go to 520collect.com/substack. Get subscribed. But we are putting out not just what's happening here with IXC, but we're also posting some great news content from around the Christian culture news sphere, including Christian hip hop, man. As you can see here on your screen, man, we got a new post up from our guys over at God Chasers. They are celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. We got some really cool stuff on the horizon happening with the God Chasers team. Brinson just put out the first of what is going to be 5 projects for him this year with the Lost Files Volume 1, and it includes the new single Superstar. So you can check out all the information about that on our Substack. If you're already subscribed, you got that delivered right to your inbox this morning. So, man, make sure you pay attention to what God Chasers has going on, because they are doing just some really amazing stuff this year, guys. Talking about dropping projects every month. So we are going to be, we're looking to set it up. We're working out the details. Talking with my guy Brinson. We're looking at a series, a collaboration, if you will, between 520 and God Chasers, where we're going to talk with the artists that are helping make this 20th anniversary a very special one indeed. So make sure you stay tuned in, stay live. You know, I hate saying it because I know everyone does, but subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way, when we do these interviews, you are able to be a part of those live with us. But again, man, if you want to get the latest from 520 and 520 IXC delivered right to your inbox for you, you don't have to go and look for it in any shape or form. You can do that at 520collect.com/Substack. It sounds like my guy Frenchie Riff just tapped in with us, so we're gonna get him on here. Oh, I can hear him. Now we just gotta wait to see him. But we're live though on a Monday night. There's nothing better than some fellowship on 520 IXC. Again, I'm EB, man. Y'all already know you can hit me up on X at Eric Boston 3, at Eric Boston and the number 3. We'd love for you to do that. We got some really cool topics we're gonna be talking about tonight, y'all. So as soon as Frenchie is on here with us, we're gonna get started. Oh, it looks like he's trying. Looks like he's gonna be here. So I know,
I know, Frenchie. It's the
dude,
camera.
I'm telling you, man, that Temu stuff, man. We've been talking about it. Someone pray for Frenchie. Someone get him an Amazon account or something. Get away from that Temu.
Somebody help! Hold on, I gotta. Oh gosh, hold on.
But yeah, man. Hey, and shout out to the squad, man. KD, he had a little something happening tonight, so couldn't be here. But prayers up for all our people out on the East Coast. I know Mr. C was kind of messaging with him back and forth earlier today, and man, he got hit with all that winter storm out there.
Oh, he's up north, Mr. C.
Up north. Apparently, he got to dig himself out of his house. I don't know, man, but I saw some photos. I'm not jealous one bit. Not. I'm glad I don't live in New York or on the East Coast. That's all I'm saying, man.
It's cold down here in Florida. I'm not even gonna front. It's cold out here, man.
Right?
I was outside, like, what's going on? Who turned the AC on?
Yeah, dude. It didn't get crazy, but it has gotten down in like the 20s and stuff here the last couple of days. Which I was thinking that maybe, just maybe, we were getting past some of that, but I guess not yet.
I'm not a big fan. AB, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a winter fan, so I don't care what nobody says to me.
I ain't mad at that, dude. I ain't mad at that take. You know what I'm
You
saying?
say what you want, but I don't like it.
I'm totally fine with that, bro. I'm with you. So, hey, it's good that you're here, though.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't be anywhere else because I live here.
I was like, if Frenchie doesn't come on here, ain't no one trying to just listen to what I have to say. So.
Oh, we here, baby. We here. I'm actually, it was my first day back at work today, so things have been chaotic digitally. Okay, let's just go there. And then my work is talking about AI. I'm like, oh boy, there goes my job,
dude. We may have some AI to talk about here a little later.
But I told my supervisor, I was like, listen, I'm good with the AI. Like, y'all keep me. Y'all need to keep me.
Right? You gotta sell it, man. It's all about
like, I write them prompts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, dude, let's get into it, man. We're gonna go around the globe a little bit tonight before we bring it back home. All right. So
you getting frisky.
Man, we'll see. We'll see how you feel about some of this stuff. Let's start with this one. This is the Holy Land grab. So, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, he told Tucker Carlson on an interview recently that Israel has a biblical right to take over the entire Middle East. This includes Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and more of that area, stating that it would be fine if they simply took it all. So the Zionist view is that the land was a divine grant to Abraham's descendants. Modern political borders are irrelevant to eternal biblical promises. And yet you got the humanitarian view that says this is a Christian imperialism. It weaponizes scripture to justify ethnic displacement, and it violates international law. So my question to you, Frenchie, is, is there a point where biblical prophecy simply becomes a national security liability? What do you think?
Now, when it comes to this land, okay, this land is part of the covenant God made with Abraham, and it's very specific. You can actually look it up on the map, specifically where the land touches, and it touches about 4 or 5 countries. Okay, today it's in Turkey. I think it touches a little bit of Turkey. I mean, all of Lebanon. Okay, and Syria touches Syria. It doesn't go as far as Iran though, but I know it goes down to Yemen a little bit. I mean, it's listen, that soil has been fought over, EB, biblically for hundreds of years. Okay, that same exact soil has been fought over for 100 years. You got to ask yourself why. Okay, because there's a lot of land on Earth, right? EB, would you agree? There's a lot of land, but why is it just that area that gets fought over the most? There must be something about that area. So then you have to go, all right, maybe, God was onto something. This is the center of the earth. So, the way Mike Huckabee probably said this, sounds too, I think it's antagonistic at this hour. We're supposed to be peaceful, where we're supposed to approach things with peace and be amicable as Christians. So I'm not sure if the sensitivity of the times require him to repeat such thing, but it is true. Okay, we're not going to sit there and and disgrace ourselves in front of the Bible. It is 100% true. God said that this land is going to be part of Abraham's descendants for the end of time. Okay, so I mean, I don't know. It's just how do you do it peacefully, EB? Is that the real question?
I think you're hitting exactly what I was kind of thinking, as far as like looking at, okay, Mike Huckabee, what you're saying is not wrong, but also we gotta be careful with how we say it, because like you said, man, this is a land that has been for the majority of its existence,
Mm,
it's been right at the center of turmoil, right?
literally.
Wars and fighting and death and destruction. Uh, it doesn't need the U.S.'s help to get
Mm-mm.
there, right? It's going to do it on its own.
Mm-mm.
Now, when we step back and look at the biblical, historical past of this region, man, you know, the one thing about it is the children of Israel were promised this land thousands of years ago, right? For generations, they knew that this is the land that God has given to us, and yet they
Mhm.
could not touch it, right? Couldn't see it. Um, are is Israel facing a similar situation right now? No, because I mean, you're not on the outside looking in,
No.
right? Um, like you were there. Maybe you don't have all of it, but
Right.
you definitely don't have none of it. And I mean, what? So who's to say that throughout however much time we have in the history of the world, right? That yeah, I don't think it's promised that they would always have 100% of this land,
Mm.
right?
Well,
It
I
is
mean,
like it is theirs,
yeah.
but we have the historical precedence, the historical example of God saying, "Hey, this is yours, but it ain't your, but you're not there right now."
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
So I
there's
mean,
also
maybe this is just the part that that the children of Israel need at this particular moment. Because I think if God said, "Okay, now I'm giving you this," there wouldn't be anything that would stop that, right? But
that's fine.
he
But
like God doesn't need Mike Huckabee's help to make this happen.
I mean, it's already happening, but a lot of people don't have the context, the biblical context, when they see that, people is are saying, "Oh, this land has been given to us by God." People that are atheists or whatever, they don't see the biblical context. It's like, dude, if you just read for not even 5 minutes, you'll see God has taken that land away from Israel multiple times. Okay, they've
Right?
been kicked out of that bad boy on their own accord because of
Yeah.
what they were doing, right? It's like they were being sinful and going against God and worshiping other gods. And God goes, okay, I'm just going to strengthen your enemies and they're going to come in and take over. So God punishes his own people, right? It says
Yeah.
in John, it's like it said he prunes us, right, in order for us to bear more fruit. Now he was pruning them all the time in order for him to better live with the law and the Levitical laws. But ultimately, what I'm saying is, with the context, if people actually just read and understood the biblical context, you'll know that God himself will take care of them if they're being super sinful and, like super rebellious. Like God will do the thing, right? A lot of people are like, "Oh man, Israel this, Israel that." I'm like, bro, God has been punishing them more than you know. I promise you,
Right.
he's been punishing them more than you know. So if he wants to go ahead and give them all the land or whatever, he will make it happen, right? It's like it's part of his um it's part of his promise to Abraham. So he will make it happen regardless. Yeah, you're right. I don't think Mike Huckabee is needed to do that because that kind of behavior doesn't feel as Paul would describe. We're supposed to, try to be amicable with everyone. And that kind of seems like you're antagonizing a people that's already sensitive. It's a sensitive area. I mean, if you sneeze too loud over there, I mean, like, you see what I'm saying? Like you could be offending somebody.
Right.
You don't even know who. And the craziest part about that land, EB, this is the last point I'm gonna make, is the actual holy places that they consider, right, what that is considered the holy places, is not even in control by Israel, which still blows my mind today. I mean, right, it's like they allowed the Islamic nations to
Right.
control that, and I still cannot understand it. You know what I mean? I sit here, I'm like, you guys have more than you could, like what? Like, it's like,
Well,
okay, it's like
but
here we don't fight, but just outside here it's all free game. Like, I don't understand that part, but maybe I think either God is in the process, because eventually we know what the Bible says, that Jesus will come back and take over that very exact place that we're talking about right now. So how's it going to happen? first there's going to be a false prophet. There's going to be, antichrist figure in there sitting on that throne, right? And this false throne, essentially. So it's like, what does that look like? How do we know what that looks like? And I bet it's probably has to do with some of this cooperation that goes on in that this holy area. So,
Well, you hit it on the head earlier. I mean, God allows the enemies sometimes to come in, right?
a lot of times.
For specific purposes. So
Mhm.
yeah, man, love it. Let's go on to the next one because this is kind of tied into this, man. Let me get over here so you can see this. We're gonna go to the Munich Security Conference for a minute here and check this out. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio made an appeal for Western Christian values in order to unite the NATO alliance. It was a fierce debate that has erupted over whether Christian values are being used as a hollow political brand, and while the actual faith is discarded. So you have pragmatists who are saying we must lean on our own Christian heritage to preserve Western order and freedom against rising global secularism and authoritarianism. And then you have the opposite view of this with people saying, hey, Christianity is a way, truth, and life, not a political accessory. So reducing Jesus to values is just a polite way of making him a mascot for the state. So is Christian values just a code word for traditional culture without the actual cross, Frenchie?
I'm gonna disagree because I think most most regions and most nations way back in time, you can look this up, like everything was kind of led by religion, right? You're talking about the Roman Empire. They believed in multiple deities, and but it kind of drove their faith, right? Everything is designed around these gods, these godlike figures. And then you're talking about the crusades. You're talking about all, like, you can name a time period and it's almost like hard for you to find no religion or no type of like worship. It almost like makes no sense to me that people argue all the time. Oh, there's no God, there's no God. I'm like, look at history. All these people, like, you think they're just randomly like deciding to worship all of a sudden something? Like, it's like, yes, nations are driven by God, and I wouldn't be surprised that this is kind of where we're headed. Like, how else do we get to Antichrist? How else do we get to a figure that everyone's like supporting and want to
Yeah.
be on the throne? We're not going to get there until the nation becomes more Christian. And to be fair, and I think the way the president has been communicating, speaking, and making like, saying, we're going to make the country Christian. We're going to make the country a God-fearing nation again. I'm like, well, yeah, you're just copying history. You're not doing anything new. Like, this is not a
Well,
new thing.
and I think there's one thing about saying, hey, we need to get America back to its roots. It's a difference when we're telling basically the entire world is, hey, you need to fall in line and do what we're doing. Because here's the thing: when we look at the Great Commission, right? The Great Commission says that we're to take the gospel to all people. It doesn't say that Christianity is going to take over the world in doing so, right? Like, I think it really comes down to there's going to be a lot of people that don't acknowledge this faith until Christ returns, right?
Well,
Like
they won't
just like
acknowledge it until the false prophet shows up. Like, he's going to do some miracles and fool a lot of people. So I think they will acknowledge something,
right, but the
something
Bible,
religious.
but the
Yeah.
Bible doesn't tell us that the world is going to just all of a sudden fall in line prior to the return of Christ,
Not
right?
with not they're not gonna fall in line with Christ. They're gonna fall in line with
Right.
something that's a false
Yeah.
representative of Christ. So they will fall in line. And you can kind
So
of see it shaping up a little bit, Evie, low key.
yeah,
Like, it's kind of
100%.
shaping up. Like, I'm looking around and I'm like, man, people are more religious now. Like, people are kind of
Uh-huh.
buying Bibles. Bible reading is up. Right, Bible downloads is up again. It's like it's coming around. So it's coming
Right.
around. I think people are just going to want it.
But for a lot of people around the world, this is just another example of America kind of being a bully, right? And trying to have our way
Yeah,
when there's a large portion of the world's population
Mm.
that doesn't necessarily agree with how things go here
Right.
in the United States, right? And so for us to go in and for Marco Rubio to say, hey, the only way NATO is going to work is we all, or if all of you start to adhere by our Western values. I mean, what do you think the response is going to be to that? You're going to get pushback. Now, again,
Well,
I don't think it's bad to hope to get there, but I'm
yeah.
not sure that you can expect that to actually end up being the outcome either.
But I don't think America's values are that defined, though. I mean, some of it is kind of vague, and they
Well,
leave it
but
vague enough.
traditionally
Yeah.
they are, though. I mean, we know what this country was founded on.
Well, yeah, if you're
Has it
talking about
strayed from that?
freedom, right? Freedom of liberty, right?
Well,
Pursuit of happiness.
and
Yeah.
biblical truth.
Pursuit of religion, freedom of religion, pursuit of
Yeah.
happiness and liberty. I mean, those are the founding values. But I'm talking about, I mean, those things kind of they've expanded over the years, right? They're not quite just freedom of religion
Well,
anymore, right?
but even American morality has its roots and came from, okay, what does the Bible tell us
I
about
think
morality? Right?
all morality came from biblical scriptures. I know
Does it
likes.
though? Does it though?
I mean, where else did it come from?
I think
Where else would it in the garden? You know what? I had this argument with somebody the other day because in the garden, if you think about it, how would Adam and Eve know something was wrong? Like God gave them morality. God said, "Don't eat from this tree." Like there's something wrong from the tree. Like that's the first moral insertion into humanity, right? It's from God to Adam and Eve. Because before then, how would they know what's right and what's wrong? They wouldn't. Right?
well,
God
but
inserted that.
but like every religion has like this code and this sense of morality. Does it 100% line up with the Bible? There's probably
No,
some overlap.
no, it doesn't.
what
But
I'm
it
saying?
comes from. But originally, it all originates from. I mean, if we believe that Genesis is the beginning of the world, then we have to also, in tandem, believe that everything derived from that, or else it wouldn't make any sense. Like if morality didn't derive from the Genesis account, then where did it come from? Like, because there's no way some Hindi dude, okay, way back in biblical times, like came up with morality on his own. Like, there's just no way. It had to come from somewhere, and it has to be a derivative. I mean, we're talking Genesis 6 now. We're getting into some real deep territory here. We're talking Nephilim, okay? We're talking who distorted morality first, essentially, because it came from a good place, right? God to Adam and Eve, and then all of a sudden, like it got distorted. I'm guessing Cain, once he went and built all those cities, distort morality, and then you can create all types of stuff. Where did other gods come from? Where did the worship of other gods come from? If you really think about it, like it had to come from originally from people that were plugged in, right? Those AKA those fallen angels.
Do you think that looking at like these two stories from this past week in particular, do you think that representatives of America, right, like leaders in the United States, are sharing Christianity from a virtuous and true place, or are they using Christianity in order to fulfill this other agenda that they have?
I think there's a little bit of both, and honestly, when it comes down to politicians, can you really trust anything in politicians? I mean, their whole entire being is to sway you to join their side. No matter what they do, every single action a politician takes is to sway you of something. So there has to be a little bit of both. I think lately we're probably seeing more of the latter. Like there is being used to kind of like get these outskirts Christians, because I don't think everyone I see that supports the MAGA movement are genuinely believers, because some of the other things they repost or post are kind of like, bro, what this guy is like, bro, what, like I don't think this connects. I think those are just like your outskirts, like I go to church on
Well,
Easter, Christmas, and all other holidays. Christian, you can grab those Christians easily because they just need some type of, like umbrella term that you can put in, and then like you'll get their attention. But I think if they don't use this in that way, then someone else will, right? It is essentially like if you have a voter base that is already primed to things of like biblical morality, that it's already kind of primed to that, like why wouldn't you take advantage of that? I mean, that's like that that's like gambling with house money. They're like, we
yeah.
know most of these people are going to support this movement regardless of of how he acts. So I think there is a little bit of them taking advantage of it in the wrong way. And then there's also that 1% where we have to believe that God uses all these things for his good.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, we've talked about cultural Christianity a lot, right? And we've talked about American Christianity and that surface level.
mhm.
And when that's where you are, whenever you don't have that depth and those roots that are digging down in it, it is easy to, I think, prostitute the faith for
oh,
your own gain.
oh,
So
I mean, come on. I did the thing on those prosperity gospel pastors the other night. I'm just like, I mean, on Locked In Christians, I was just like, yeah, it's not, using the gospel to prosper yourself is you have to also make it right in your head, right? It has to also, like, you have to justify it before you can continue on doing something that later in retrospect be like, that probably wasn't right, but you have to justify it at that time. So imagine if you're in the if you're in a politician, in this time period, like, it's easy to justify going this route. Like, you're gonna have to justify using the political route. Like, it's probably easier than any other
yeah,
time now, because it's so the divisiveness kind of feels so heavy that you almost like, if I just say anything that sounds Christian-esque, like, I am going to gather these people.
yeah, and whether it's whether it's what's happening in the Middle East or whether it's NATO, like we're looking at here, at the end of the day, there are certain uh, benefits from stuff playing out in
Mm,
America's favor that we're trying to make happen. And I think one thing we got to look at is the orthodoxy gap in America, man. That's our next one that we want to look up here. Let me pull this up here. So we had um the NBR happening in Nashville. So the president Troy Miller, that's him here in the picture. He just called out the orthodoxy gap. There's research showing that millions of Christians believe the right things, like the
mhm.
Trinity and the resurrection and stuff, but zero have intention of obeying them in public. Now, I think it's hard to say 0%, but there are, I think, people who, like you said, knows these things, but maybe they have zero intention
Mm.
in and of themselves, right? So we have this accountability view of the church being full of fans who like the music and the vibes, but refuse to get on the field. We need to stop creating content and start discipling, was a big message here. Uh, but then, like, the people who maybe fall into that uh, certain category, right? That if they can be categorized as being one of these fans, the pushback here is that, well, this just sounds like legalism
Mm.
by another name. And people are struggling to survive in a hard economy. They don't need a coach yelling harder. They need to just be left alone to do what they can, man. So, Frenchie, if the church is just full of fans, is it because we've turned the Sunday service into a spectator sport, my friend?
Ooh, this is a heavy one.
Oh,
I the danger has always been when you start using that liberal language and then tie it into the Bible, right? Like, you've probably seen all the some liberals that are be on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, they're kind of using Jesus's ministry, taking some quotes out of context just to kind of go, oh, Jesus welcomed all, so that means all lifestyles and choices, right? But they're not even like deciphering it on moral grounds. It's just like, oh, Jesus accepted all, Jesus loves all, and that is
while leaving out the second half of it.
Correct. You're leaving out the hardest part of Christianity. Like, you think the disciples died because Jesus loved all people? Like, they just went around. You think these disciples like gave their lives, right, for for this person they followed around who died and came back to life just because he accepted all? Like, come on, bro. The hardest part is the obedience. The most difficult part of this life, living as a Christian or saying you profess your faith, is the obedience. It doesn't matter what you say, how many times you've been baptized, when you got sprinkled as a kid. Like, are you being obedient to the word? Like, okay, then but what does the Bible tell us as Christians? How do we judge other Christians, right? We judge them by their fruits. It's like, and if you're looking at these so-called fans, there's no fruit. There's no fruit. That, like, if the fruit is not there and somebody's saying, hey man, you're not producing any fruit, you're either just on a sideline or something else is there. Because remember, we have to worship something. We are worshiping creatures by nature. So it's like, what are you worshiping? Because it ain't the Lord. Maybe you just worship the Lord on a Sunday, but on Mondays, like, there's no fruits happening. So I think the faith has more fans right now.
And I don't hate that take, dude. I mean, I think when we look at it, and we've talked about playing the part and looking a certain way, but really just wanting to be like entertained and for everything to be good and not have like, don't make me feel like depressed, or don't make me have to actually look at myself here in the mirror. And I think when it is just about being entertained and vibes and all this stuff that he's saying, being a fan, when you're a fan, there's not really any consequence that comes with that, right? You could choose to stop being a fan. You could go root for a winning team or whatever, right? And I think that is why, like, when that's the spot we want to live at, it's easy for all this other nonsense to creep in to the church, right? Whether it is, we talked last week about abortion and that with the Presbyterian minister there. But I think with what we've been talking about so far in this show, man, like, you've got politics that has weaved in tight with the structure of America's modern church, man, to the point where some people don't see a difference between it. And that's why it's hard to trust it, because it's not, the faith wasn't meant to get into that political world. It was meant to influence our decisions on it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't meant to, be a marriage there. That's why Christ said, hey, give Caesar's what's his, give me what's mine, and we'll keep it moving, right? But we are seeing, I think, the stuff that is divisive, not only among Americans, but divisive among the members of the church coming in, and a lot of people feed off of that divisiveness, right? They feed off of that conflict, man. And if we're getting it at church, we don't need it anywhere else.
You know what we don't have enough of is the fan versus players, because it's like, imagine if you're running a church and half your congregation, let's just say 90% of your congregation aren't, plugging in, right? They're not converting from that fan perspective to getting into the game. Like, 90% of your church doing that, your church is going to die. Like, your church is not going to last long. And so I see that we need to not just be players, but it's like, when you talked about coaching earlier, it's like, not a lot of people want to be coached, to be fair. And so then, like, the argument is like, okay, what's the middle ground for us? Like, how do we how are we supposed to decipher what's happening today? Like, I see a lot of Christians that are like, you're kind of like when you play double dutch or whatever, or jump rope, right? Like, you're trying to figure out how to get in. Like, I
Yeah.
see a lot of Christians actually like going, okay, where do I get in here? Because like, do I just continue like bearing fruit and like kind of ignore like this political side? Or remember last November, or was it last November when we had the vote? But that was last November, wasn't it? When we
Uh-huh.
had the vote. Yeah. I mean, you got Christians that are like, wait a minute, which way are we supposed to vote? Right? You can see it in them. It's like some of the Christians are looking at
Well,
like, do I vote?
the November before.
Well, yeah, November before, not last November.
Yeah,
Sorry. 2024 November. Man,
right.
the dad brain. But anyway, it's like you saw a lot of Christians doing that little like, oh, where do I get in? Where do I get in? Do I say anything? Do I say anything? Where are we supposed to vote? Like, we really don't know. Like, your pastor ain't talking about that. Your pastor ain't going, hey, listen, you can't vote
Well,
for
they
these
might
guys.
be. They might be, man.
Well, yeah, not at our church, not at our church, but maybe some churches. But they're like, you can't vote for these guys. You can't vote for this guy. And like, listen, these guys do not
It's
adhere to our beliefs, and I promise you, we shouldn't vote for them. But it's like, you can't do that at church, technically, right? You literally
well, that's the
legally
thing
can't do
is
that.
like so many of these issues have creeped in, and they have taken over the conversation and taken
Right.
the focus off of the gospel.
Way off.
So it's not shocking that we're seeing so many proclaiming Christians that have no idea, that are like biblically illiterate, right?
Babes in the faith, man.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Listen, that topic has become. I'm so happy that we are at a point where people are starting to notice that they are young in the faith. Like, just taking that approach, it just gives you so much humility. Like, I spent a lot of time in like youth group and like literally paying attention to like, the words, and I didn't really understand it. Right, I wasn't even taking it in, I don't think. But it wasn't until like, I would say like 6, 7 years ago, where I was like, wait a minute, I think I'm young in the faith. I
Well,
think I'm young in the faith. Like, mentally, I wasn't taking it in, and I didn't understand any of the context. Most of it, I just knew, the gospel. I knew that, and I believed that, but that was really it. Like, to really get plugged in, you have to start taking in more than just your daily fun scripture that people have tattooed on them. You just read it in the morning. Like, you have to start taking in some context and really start to learn more about your own faith. And I think that's kind of where we're running to. And my hope is that more people are taking that approach, from seeing how a government's moving, how they're trying to have this like Christian movement intertwined with the government. And like, I hope they take that approach and go, let me go ahead and like improve my own faith. Let me go ahead and build up and grow out of that baby phase, right? Because like, you have to grow out of that baby phase. Paul says you just must transition from milk to solid food at some point.
and I think the caution there is people being stuck in that point and not actually trying to move up, right? I think
Right.
one thing that American society has been taught is um, it's okay to be the victim. It's okay to play that role.
Mm,
And so, I mean, at what point, is it 10 years? Is it 20 years? I mean, at what point are you able to no longer say, well, I'm just a broken person,
right.
and realize that no, you're more than that. Christ made us more than that if we are truly advancing, if we are truly about what we're saying,
Yeah.
or again, are we just going where the vibes are, and maybe the vibes have swung towards religion
I
more in America.
It feels sexy to be Christian right now. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of
Right.
has that appeal right now. It's like but then you're seeing the growth of other religions low key creeping into the states, unlike like they never before. Like, I've seen the growth of like mosques and stuff being built, and a lot of states happening all the time. So it's like there's a little growth in there. But once you start introducing these religions that are completely antithetical to our beliefs in the Bible, it's like, that's when we're low key turning this place into that Middle Eastern land that we kind of talked
Right.
about at the beginning. Like this is that, like we're just gonna turn it into that, because if we become even more deeper into the faith, then it's gonna turn into that real quickly. Like why not? You know, it's like a powder keg being built
Well,
up.
and I'm glad you said that, man, because let's get. I think this is going to be the one that you love this topic, man. Let's talk about frictionless faith, man. So this is from Relevant Magazine. Millions of Christians are now using
Mm,
AI chatbots for spiritual direction, confession, and prayer. Critics are labeling this as frictionless faith, arguing that by removing the inconvenience and social friction of real church community, we are stripping away the very things that actually form a person's character. For those who are pro tech, AI becomes this low barrier missionary tool. It
mm,
provides a safe, judgment free space for people to ask questions or confess sins that they aren't ready to tell to a human, potentially leading them back to the local church. Whereas, traditionalists, the more theological view, people see it as spiritual growth that require, that spiritual growth requires that awkwardness that comes with human relationship, right? It's where an algorithm can provide information, it can't actually love or discern. Uh, you can't be discipled by a mirror in at the
hmm.
end of it here, man. So uh, again, if a bot can pray for you better than your average small group member, is there a problem? Or is the problem the bot or the small group? What do you think, Frenchie?
Maybe there's 100,000% an issue with that. And I think it starts with understanding what these LLMs are. And honestly, I was taken aback because I couldn't understand how they work. Okay, when they first popped up, Chat GPT, I was like, "How does this work?" Right? Like,
Yeah.
what's the engine? Because I'm just nerdy like that. I'm like, man, how does this work? I need to know the ground. So essentially, right, what you are talking to when you are, conversing with an LLM, you are chatting with something that's just guessing patterns, right? It's guessing patterns of words that you are saying. It's replying based on the patterns of previous, context and conversation that they learned. So you are not talking to an a, a an entity or anything. You're not speaking to anything. Whatever you would think you're talking to is just guessing patterns. Every time you enter words, it's guessing, it's guessing, it's guessing, and it's getting really good at guessing, right? It's like it can have a back
Right.
and forth conversation with you. I was trying to fix my website for my channel, and I was using Claude, and I'm just like, man, I want to fix my website. It's like, what about your website you want to fix? Like, what's the point of your website? It's like grilling
Uh-huh.
me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, nah, you need to think about this. Like, if people are coming here, like, what are they gonna do? I was like, why is it talking to me like this? Like, this is like it felt.
Well,
I felt like
dude, yeah. So me and my wife, we went and
yeah.
saw Nate Bargatze last night.
Okay.
I don't know if you're
Funny,
familiar with
funny,
it. Yeah,
funny guy, yeah.
right. Hilarious, right? Comedian. And I'm not gonna give his joke away, but he had this joke that he was telling, and the big part of it was he was like, he went and asked AI something ridiculous, right? Something that like he said he tried to Google it first, and Google was like, dude, this is stupid. I'm not gonna get into that. But he went to Chat GPT and asked it, and the response that he got there was, dude, I am so glad you asked me this. I've been waiting all day for this conversation. This is something that's been on my mind. Like you said, it's programmed and it's
Right.
set up to like pull us in, right? And keep us there and to make us feel like there's nothing that we could say to it that's too
Yeah,
crazy,
you're not
right?
you're not talking to right. You're not talking to a person. You're just talking to code, which essentially, if you saw it, if you got out of that UI, right, that user interface, and you just saw the code that you're writing to, you would not process that conversation the same anymore. If you're just seeing the like kind of like the best example is probably the Matrix. Like if you've
Yeah,
seen the Matrix out there, the movie, like the lines of code moving down, like that's what they were looking at. They're not looking at what we're seeing in the movie. We're seeing like Neo fighting or whatever, but they're seeing the lines of code. If you saw lines of code, you just wouldn't talk to it like that. You'd be like,
right.
oh, this is kind of dumb. So and then what's really next is the most worrying one. When they eventually merge this LLM stuff with robots. Now the robot's gonna, you can make a robot look like whatever you want to, and it's gonna have that intelligence. And I think that's when we're gonna be getting to worship area. But it's no surprise that when you sense just this much of intelligence, people start to worship it. Like,
Well, and
that's just who we are as people.
I think this term of frictionless faith is hitting the nail on the head, right? I mean,
There's no friction.
It removes the friction. Where we know that growth happens in the uncomfortable,
Conviction.
Right? So if we're never uncomfortable, are we ever growing?
I mean, honestly, it's like your pastor got to talk you out of that. Like, if you're doing something like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know most pastors probably gonna be like, "Come on, bro, what are you doing? Like, you shouldn't be having these private conversations with LM." But to be fair, Google knows more about all of us than any.
Well, and that's
than
and that
anyone
right there's
else.
the part is that the tech
Yeah.
industry, this isn't something they just thought of yesterday.
No.
This is something that's been building, right? They knew, like, hey, yo, if we can pull them out from that, they're gonna listen to whatever we can say, because we can feed off of their ego. We can play to their ego, right?
EB, did you see the do you know the history behind the actual like transformer technology behind those large language models? It's actually really interesting. And I mean, if you're a conspiracy theorist out there, okay, you love this stuff because I mean, it's right in that zone of conspiracy. And I know we don't really go into that in this channel. I don't go into that in my channel either, but
you go wherever you want, man.
I thought it was.
We ain't mad at it.
I thought it was interesting when I first I was like, where did it come from? Because like, where things that is the paper that came out that said it was called "Attention is All You Need." You guys could look this up. The actual paper that came out for this transformer technology has been sitting in Google's just whatever for years. Okay, it came out years and it was just sitting there, and it wasn't until 2015 where these guys at OpenAI decided, oh, look at this interesting paper here. Let me go ahead and take this paper and create this chat bot that I can talk to, right, using that transformer technology. It's been around for a long time. So EB, and I even saw when the computer first came out, you have to remember, like, this is just the little nerd history, okay? When the computer first came out, this was like slightly just after the World War II, when they started actually working on computers. Like, at that time, the excitement is probably the same excitement we are experiencing now with these LLMs. Like, we're like, oh, I could build so many things. Like, this is the same exact excitement. There's like an actual documentary on it. Like, they were doing everything with the computer. They even had like iPads at like back in the 1960s, like they had iPads like the ones we're using now. Like, they were able to use, but it just didn't have the same user interface. But they had it because it's just code, right? Ultimately, it's just code. But at some point, EB, all of that got shelved. At some point, all of that just got thrown to the back, and instead they focused on this, like, web browser, where people can just surf the internet, which is a lot safer than talking to an AI. So that technology, the transformer technology, has been around for a very long time. As a matter of fact, I'm guessing, I can bet that they've already had it, and they're just like, this is actually it's too early for this. Somebody probably delayed it a little bit because it's just so random that it just ended up in these guys' hands in 2015, and it's just been sitting there in Google's locker room for a long time.
I was watching an interesting video the other day, kind of talking about, my generation in particular, of that shift, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. It had to start with like smaller pieces, right? Okay, we had to get to the point where people were buying home computers, right? And even when you initially bought the home computer, it wasn't because you're getting online. It was, oh, well, I'm playing these real basic games. I'm using it for word processing, whatever. After we had that for a little bit, and it got to the point where most people had a computer, now all of a sudden we're like, hey, here's access to the World Wide Web, right? And
2000.
and if you had just like shoved it all out there at once, right, like it would have been too much. The overload would have been too much. I think freak out from it, like people's minds wouldn't be able to wrap around it quick enough. I think that was part of it. Is like there was time to kind of understand it in stages.
Yeah,
Right.
it would have been.
That's why you see older generations
They don't get
struggle
it.
when
Yeah.
the technology shifts. Right.
You would have had low adoption rates
Yeah.
because no one had access to a computer, and so it's kind of makes sense that it was delayed. But to me, I'm saying it just looks purposely delayed. I like if they were already testing all of this stuff in 1960s, like I mean they went to the moon, right? Like yeah, people can argue
Maybe.
what you want, argue what you want about it, but they said they went to the moon. They had the math for it, so you know what? Like they had these things, like they had these LLMs. They were chatting with chat bots way before 2015, and I think it was delayed on purpose. But that tells me if something is delayed on purpose, how far did somebody go with it to go? Yeah, that's probably delayed, right? What did they see and what did they experience to where it's like, wow, this thing is gonna be insane if we let it go. But ultimately, EB, I just want to remind everyone at home, or if you're watching this, whatever time you're watching this, like LMs are not like they're not entities, they're not people. They don't have any of that.
Yeah.
It's just code. You're just writing to a code that's calculating something and
Well,
then
and
spin you back out an answer. It's not a real thing. But I think the goal for most of these companies is to reach what they call general intelligence and eventually super intelligence to where it's like human like whatever yada yada yada. But again, only person that create human we already know, and that's the one we
right.
worship.
Well, and
Amen.
at the end of the day, this stuff we gotta remember is the focus is going to be to distract
Mm-hmm.
and to isolate
Mm,
individuals, right?
mm.
And
I think the
whenever
other word you're looking for is deceive. That's what Jesus says in
right,
Matthew 24. The
yeah.
first thing is
Well,
beware the
but
deception.
but when you get individuals on their own,
Mm.
away from community, right? It becomes much easier to deceive,
Isolate. Yep.
right?
Divide and
Um,
conquer.
and they're doing a good job of it.
It's working, man. It's working. It's
It's
working.
crazy,
Don't
man.
don't spend too much time on your LMs. Get to church. Shake somebody's hand, amen.
Kyle Manning is in the house. Shout out Kyle
Oh,
Manning.
there
He
he
said
is.
he said they didn't go to the moon back then. Dude, in the words of the janitor from Scrubs, man, I don't believe in the moon. I think it's the backside of the sun.
God, I listen. I think they sent something up there. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I think something got set up there. But again, the biblical account of what's supposed to be up there is waters. Okay, Genesis says there's waters above the earth. I'm like, what does that look like? Did that water get emptied out during the Noah's flood though? I don't know. I don't know. I think they said something there, Kyle. But um, you know, the Hollywood studios are good too. To be fair, it's kind of coming back full circle that Hollywood studios are no longer necessary to create, you know, lifelike
Right,
images anymore. So
right.
hmm,
Shout out to Kyle for being here, man. We
for
missed you,
real,
dude.
for
We
real.
missed you, man.
Not only tuning in, but just diabolically, just writing aggressive moon
Calling the
moon
calling the
conspiracy
calling the government liars. We're here for it. So
on a
um
Monday on the Monday evening.
a fellowship Monday here on 520 IXT. That's what we're here for, fellowship, fellas. So yeah, hey,
Kyle's definitely on the list somewhere. They're tracking you.
dude, I'm telling you, I know we've said before, Kyle, like we gotta get you on the show sometime. I know you've hesitated, but man,
Yeah. Soon
I
soon
think
as
I think that
Kyle.
would be I think that would be an interesting episode the day that Kyle Manning shows up on stream with us. So
Yeah, soon as Kyle just get said something about the government, they start tracking you immediately. The moment he said something, you just beep, checklist. He's on there. They're watching you, big dog.
well, hey, I know we got started a little late tonight, but I'm glad we got to get this in tonight here, Frenchie. Like I think some interesting topics, some interesting things that
Oh, for sure. For
I,
sure.
I think should be thought provoking for all of us to maybe spend a little bit of time with and kind of take
AB,
stock in where we're at, you know?
AB, I'm gonna stop you right there because it
Yeah,
is not thought provoking at all. There are people out there that are not just anti AI; they could care less about even knowing what's going on. And people at the church that still have no idea what's going on. They might, like your job is legit. But listen, AI might not be like human like, but I promise you, it could do your job.
right,
Like, yeah, you can, like for Christians, I just don't understand why we wouldn't be paying attention to this. Like Jesus said, just be alert. It says a thief in the night. I don't know about you, Kyle. I mean, EB and Kyle, but it's like, how do you prepare for a thief in the night? Right? How do you prepare for a thief to come break into your home? Like,
you try to
lock
have
that
some good,
bad boy up.
I have some good security in place, you know?
Have some lights outside, maybe some vision so I can see what's going on. Look through the window. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we're supposed to be paying attention. Like we are meant to be awakened and like seeing things, through the
Yeah,
scriptures. So I'm like, as a Christian, this is not the time for you to, stick your head in the sand right now. Like I think it's the
right,
wrong approach as a Christian.
right. Man, what's happening with Locked In this week, man?
Oh, locked in. We've been going hard past 2 weeks, but we switched over to vertical now, EB. We are vertically streaming now.
Oh,
But
even
yeah, yeah,
even more futuristic, dude.
it gets us, it just gets the most random people in the lobby though. I'm not gonna lie. Because people are doing the scroll and then they end up on your stream and they're like, what's going on here? And I'm like, all right, cool. Oh, it's Christian, yeah, next. But yeah, but oh, Christian, yeah. Oh, what do you say? Jesus, yeah, next. But it's like and all that tells me is like for every Christian YouTube account, there's gotta be 100,000 just non Christian diabolical. So our purpose, honestly, EB, is to be a source of real life, like what's happening and what is the Bible saying. And this is really where we're kind of meeting on Locked In. We're trying to help our fellow brothers and sisters, especially like I would say young in the faith, like babe in the faith. Like if you're really ready to, start to move along your faith and see that experience that growth that people always talk about. I used to be like, what are people always talking about? Like, are you growing in the faith? Like, if you really want to experience that, I'm telling you right now, like it happens, right? It happens.
Yeah,
It starts with the word. It starts with you trusting. It starts with that painful process of obeying the Lord. But some people aren't ready for that, and you have to give them that time. And our residency professor, which I'm in class by the way, EB, I don't know if I told you that, but he always says that the shepherd move as fast as the sheep. Like the shepherd,
right.
you can only move as fast as the sheep. So
Well, and that's
it's
part
like
of
if you're
the
discipling somebody right now and it's frustrating you to death that they're not moving quick enough, you gotta slow down. Like
right.
that's what that says. Like you cannot push somebody who's not ready to receive like real food. Like they're still trying to take in a little bit more milk. So that's what we're doing at Locked In. So come check us out Fridays 8:30. EB, you got to come back and do a part 2 of your education round 2. I want to hear what's going on 2026 school year so far. So EB, hopefully you'll be making an appearance soon again. We'd love to have you.
Yes, sir. We can definitely look at doing that, man. I was gonna say, just to piggyback off that for a small second, part of what Troy Miller was saying whenever it came to that orthodoxy gap is he actually pointed out kind of the role of Christian content creators as well. And
Hmm.
like, are we taking that responsibility seriously? I think speaking for, 520 and for what you're doing with Locked In, I think we try to. I think we try to do a good job and do our best at keeping the focus on the main thing. I think it's easy to understand why some creators can maybe trail off the path a little bit, but hopefully they get right back when they do.
Hmm.
But I mean, it is a challenge that I think a lot of us need. So, I said, hopefully here at 520, we're holding up our end of the bargain. If we're not, let us know, man, because we want to get better at it. But if
Man,
you
we
know,
are just being on here is already halfway of the bargain. Like
right?
this is already a lot. Like, a lot of people aren't even willing to turn on their computer and just like,
Yeah.
hey, let me give the real truth out there.
Yeah. Well, and if you like what we're doing, again, make sure you are subscribed to our Substack, 520club.com/Substack.
Sub.
You can get great content from us directly to your inbox. We're looking at, dude, Substack has added a lot of stuff over the past few months to their platform. We're looking at seeing how can we potentially use some of that in the future here coming up. So definitely want to be a part of that. So make sure you get subscribed to us over there. That way we can be in communication with you. But of course, we appreciate people hanging out with us here on stream. Frenchie, appreciate you getting on here tonight, man. Shout out to the rest of the team,
For
KD,
sure.
Swiss,
Big shout
Mississippi
out.
Live, Darius, all the guys, man. We will hopefully be back full squad up very, very soon, man. So
You know it.
you know it. So, but I think we're gonna wrap it up here tonight. So for the entire squad at 520 Collective 520 IXC, y'all know what it is. Indie